Okay, so the general overview of this activity is simple. You are going to design a lab activity that will test the effect of a chosen variable on the growth of a plant. Okay? It can be pretty much anything you want that can affect the growth of a plant. You just have to make sure that you're actually conducting a controlled experiment. That is, that you are only testing the effect of one thing. Okay? Because very often I have people say, oh, I'm testing the effect of light on plant growth, and then they put their plants in different situations where it's not just the light that's different, but it's also temperature and a whole bunch of other things, and they're not actually running a controlled experiment. They think they're just testing the effect of light, but in actual fact, they're testing like 5 or 6 different things, and they'll never know which one of them causes the plant to grow better. Okay? So you need to make sure that you are actually running a controlled experiment. If you wanted to do something as simple as the effect of light on plant growth, then you need to have all your plants in places where the temperature is the same, the soil is the same, it's the same kind of plant. You have to have all those controlled variables we always talk about. Okay? Those you need to make sure you are actually controlling, okay, when you actually design the procedure. Does everyone kind of follow me there? That's the biggest mistake I see, okay, in this activity, is people not actually running a controlled experiment. Okay? Now I've seen all kinds of things in this activity. Okay? If I wanted to, like, I've had people who tested the effect of different liquids, okay, like watering the plant with different liquids, okay, and that's a controlled experiment as long as the only thing that's different is the liquids, okay, so you can test like Gatorade, hydrochloric acid, vinegar, or whatever you want. I mean, different, a bunch of different liquids and see what happens, okay, but you probably want something that would be a little more realistic than that. Nobody would water a plant with hydrochloric acid, okay. But yeah, like I've had lots of different stuff, different colors of lights. Okay, this plant gets red, this plant gets green, this plant gets purple. Okay, and see what happens. You can do any number of things. Okay, just remember that it's got to be a controlled experiment. It's the amount of water. Okay, make sure you've got a bunch of different plants all getting different amounts of water, and that everything else is the same for all of them. Okay, so what we're looking for here is this. You're going to have like an introductory couple of 3 sentences. Okay, a couple 3 sentences, that's called your abstract. Okay, in the abstract you simply tell me, here's what I know about plant growth and why I'm going to study this particular thing and what the applications for that might be. 3 sentences. Okay, what you know about plants in terms of kind of related to what you're doing. Okay, why you're testing that, and if it has any applications that you can think of. Okay, so that's your abstract. Basically, an abstract in real science is much longer than that, and it's a sales pitch. Okay? You have to get your research funded by somebody, so you write this abstract that says, here's all the possible applications of my research, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to sell it to you for this much, but you'll make billions after, kind of thing. But not really. It's kind of how science actually gets accomplished. Okay? Somebody has to fund it, and an abstract is kind of how you sell it to somebody. Okay? Scientists don't usually get rich. The companies that fund them do. Especially when it's pharmaceutical stuff. Okay, so you're going to have that abstract, so we've talked about that, okay, just a description, right? Then you're going to have basically a normal lab setup. The problem, what's the problem you're investigating? What's the effect of different colors of light on plant growth? Something like that, okay? Then you're going to have your design. What's your manipulated variable and why? What's your responding variable and why? What are your controlled variables? There's 3, explain them all. Okay, so same as a normal lab report, except this time you're making it all up. Okay, it's not being laid out for you in advance. Okay, then you're going to have your hypothesis. Okay, so your hypothesis, if and then statement that relates to the problem you're investigating. Okay, if plants need only one wavelength of light, and an experiment is run where different colors of light are given to different plants, then the plant receiving purple light will grow the best. Whatever, you have your normal hypothesis like we always do. Right, and then after that, you're going to have your materials. Okay, so a list of things that you would need to perform the lab, plants, soil, okay, things like that. How big of pots are you going to use? All that kind of stuff. Okay, and then finally, your procedure. Okay, now your procedure needs to be, fairly explanatory that I could follow it. It doesn't need to be, as big as the one we did on the first lab. Okay, I'm not expecting anything like that. But make sure that you lay it out and tell me things like, how much water does each plant need? Okay, even if water is not the thing you're testing, okay, you should mention how often you're going to water and how much water you're going to give them. Okay, how much light are you going to give them? Okay, what kind? Is it artificial or natural? How are you, make sure you lay out how that's going to be controlled and stuff in the procedure. Okay, and then also how long is your experiment going to run for? Okay, is this like, you're planting beans and 90 days from now you'll be done? Okay, or is this, you're going to be watching this tree for the rest of your life? Okay, probably not, but you get the idea. Okay, how long is the experiment going to run for? Okay, and what kind of things are you going to be measuring? Okay, tell me how to take those measurements. Right, if I'm looking at the growth of a plant, how am I measuring that? Okay, am I measuring how tall it is? Am I counting the number of leaves? Am I taking its mass every day? Okay, how am I going to know if it's growing? Am I taking a picture of it and then after doing a time-lapse video, okay, what am I doing, okay, in order to measure the growth of the plant? Okay, things like that should be included there. So it's out of 20. You're going to get 5 marks for your design. That would be the abstract and the variables and the problem. Okay, you're going to get 5 marks for the hypothesis. Okay, 5 marks for the, whoops. Okay, 5 marks for your procedure, okay, and then the overall 5 marks, same as always, okay, how well it's presented and whether it makes sense or not. Emma? Yes. Okay, any questions on that? All right, so you got an hour, okay? Should be able, I would think, to accomplish all of that. I mean, basically, you're just doing the first half of a lab, okay, here. Okay, and we've often done that in much less time than an hour. All right, so the idea here is that you'll get this done in class and not have to have any homework, but I didn't make it due until tomorrow morning at 8:35. Okay, I won't be taking it, I won't be marking them later today if you're not able to finish in class. All right, but I think you should be able to. The idea here is that this isn't going to be homework for you, that it is something you can accomplish in the next hour. All right, question? You're just looking at me quizzically.
I thought we were actually doing the experiment.
No, we're not actually doing the experiment. So that actually frees you up a little bit in that you could design some grandiose plan that could never possibly be carried out.
Oh,
okay, like I want to test the effect of zero gravity on plant growth. I'm taking plants to the International Space Station. Yeah, we can't, realistically, we'd never do that, but if you wanted to design that experiment, we certainly could. Okay. All right, if you got questions as we go along, just fire away.